Welcome to our Youth Education in Spiritism with the Kardec Radio. I am Bernadette Leal, and I'll be spending a few minutes with you, inspiring to bring spiritual awareness and spiritist teachings to our youth, parents, and educators. Today, we will answer 3 questions about the influence of home in the moral development of a child. First question: how does the home environment influence the moral formation of a child? In order to answer this question, first, we would like to mention the answer to question 892 of the Spirit's book about parents' responsibility. It says, parents have been entrusted with the education of their children. Their mission is to make every possible effort to bring their children back onto the right path. The education that we would like to focus here is not the intellectual one, but the moral education of the child. We know that every family has different moral values. So when we talk about moral education, it is the one taught by Jesus and the great masters of humanity, which is to treat others the way you want to be treated, love your neighbor, compassion, patience, respect, and also teaching about choices and consequences and how our actions can affect others. But where does the moral education start? At home. The child will become what they have learned at home. So the more solid moral education the child has learned and experienced, the more she'll be able to handle and transform negative influences and behavior outside home, knowing not only how to make wise choices, but also how to treat others well. One serious problem that we have nowadays is that parents are leaving to the school and teachers to do the moral education, moving away from the full responsibility of parenthood. Then later, parents complain when their children show a selfish behavior, when in fact there was no time spent on the child's moral development. Remember, children are like clay, and the figure will be a representation of what they were molded. Children learn by example, and they will be confused if they have parents or caregivers who are not consistent on what they say and do. How can we ask a child to be understanding and treat others with respect when she hears us talking bad about our neighbors or someone in the family? How can we expect a child to be loving and peaceful when she has seen their parents emotionally and physically abusing each other? We can start by assessing our home environment by asking ourselves, is my house a peaceful place? Do my children feel safe at home? Are there a lot of arguments, yelling, and name-calling at home? We all know that there are challenges and some stressful situations in our lives and family at times, but there is always a peaceful way of handling any problem and showing a good example of conduct. A home should be a sanctuary. Second question: I've been raising all my children the same way and noticed that in spite of my efforts, they show very different behavior. Why? Well, this is a question that Spiritism can help us to answer. Although in a young body, every child is, in fact, an old spirit who lived many lifetimes. She will show not only the progress that she has made, but also weaknesses and negative tendencies that upon which she needs to work. Therefore, each child is a unique spirit. A parent who is attentive will start to notice their children's tendencies and should help them to improve and work on their moral development. It is like driving a car. Depending on the road and where we want to go, we have to turn the steering wheel to the right or to the left or make some stops. Each child is a spirit who has a different road to travel, And it is the parent's responsibility to steer the wheel when children are growing up to keep them on the right path and not drive off a cliff or have accidents that can harm not only themselves but others as well. Certainly, we have offered them equal amount of unconditional love. But educationally speaking, they should be raised differently because each child is a different spirit with different needs. Observe your child's tendencies from the cradle, as says St. Augustine in chapter 14, item 9 of the Gospel according to Spiritism, and you will see and be able to customize your educational approach with each of your children. After all, a parent is an educator. Third question. My child is angry, raises his voice, and sometimes ignores me. What should I do? The most important thing that parents can do for their children is to love them. You may not like or love what they do, but you should love them unconditionally. Children need to know that they are loved and feel loved. So when a child or teenager shows, for instance, a defiant behavior or seem angry, it is because they are trying to communicate something. They may be unhappy or frustrated, but in fact, they lack the skills to talk about their feelings and do not know how to handle their frustrations. So when you are facing a situation in which your child is acting out, yelling, or ignoring you, the first question is to ask yourself, what is my child trying to tell me? There are two ways in which you can interpret a child's behavior. It is through action or reaction. For instance, let's say your child is throwing a tantrum for not getting what she wants. A reaction is, what a brat! She needs some spanking, which is, by the way, something we do not encourage here, or she needs a time out. Now here's the action. Wow! My child has not learned yet how to be patient and is showing selfish behavior. I need to work on help her to be more understanding. Another example. Let's say that your teenager is spending most of the time at the computer and ignoring you. Reaction. What a selfish son I have. He does not care about his parents. Action. I need to spend more time with my son and show interest in what he likes. The challenge in interpreting the communication with the action perspective is that we may find out that the problem starts with the parents, and they are not ready to hear that. Well, it is true that sometimes the problem has to do with parenting, but it's also where we may find the solution. Kardec Radio listeners, home is where the education of the spirit starts. Leaving the parenting job to school or society can have serious consequences. We know a real story of a parent who wanted to raise her child setting no limits or letting her make her own choices instead of guiding her in her behavior or in her moral and spiritual growth. As a result, the child grew up with no empathy toward others, showing selfish behavior, and with no spiritual connection to God. Today, her mother regrets and wishes she had raised her daughter differently. Parents and educators, children need limit, guidance, consistency, and education in all areas, physically, intellectually, morally, and spiritually. Let's guide them in a loving and conscious way so they can make smart choices in life and become responsible adults with great moral values. Let's love them. And as Dr. Wayne Dyer said, by giving children lots of affection, you can help fill them with love and acceptance of themselves. Then, that's what they will have to give away. Thanks for listening to Yes. And if you have any question that would like us to answer, please email to Kardec@kardecradio.com.